Greetings and welcome to video number 2 tonight. Actually, it's the third one if you've watched the others, but the first one didn't really count. It was just something for your understanding. So this is really video number 2 on solving two-step equations, and we're going to start this one by simplifying the equation before we solve it. It says you can simplify the equation by eliminating the fractions first. Multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD. So I don't know about you, but I don't like working with fractions. So I want to simplify this equation by eliminating those fractions. To eliminate the fractions, I multiply the entire equation, all of it, by the lowest common denominator. So when I look at these denominators of 9, 3, and 3, I know that the lowest common denominator would be 9. So I'm going to take and multiply the entire equation by 9. And I'm going to distribute that 9 for every term. So on the first one, 9 times n divided by 9, well, the 9's would cancel out, and that would leave us with n. And then I have 2/3. So 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 times 2 is 6. So that would be plus 6, and 6 is 2/3 of 9. And then a negative 2/3, again, 3 goes into 9 3 times a negative 2 would be negative 6. Now I have a simple equation. I'm adding 6 to n. The inverse of that would be to subtract 6. That's how I isolate. So n is equal to keep the equation balanced, I would subtract 6 from the other side, and I would get negative 12. Let's try this one more time. I have 4h plus 1/3 is equal to 3/4. Again, I have fractions in here. I'm not a fan of fractions, so I want to eliminate them. And I'm going to multiply the entire equation by the lowest common denominator. And I know that the denominator for 4h would be 1. So between 1, 3, and 4, my lowest common denominator is 12. So I'm going to take this entire equation and multiply by 12. First thing I'm going to do is 12 times 4h, and 12 times 4 is 48 h's. And then 1/3 of 12, well, 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 1 is 4. And 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 3/4 of 12 is 9. So now I can subtract the 4 to start isolating my variable. Do it to both sides to keep the equation balanced. 48h is now equal to 5. Dividing by 48, I get an odd answer that h is equal to 5/48. Very strange, but it is what it is. I'm going to show you real quickly how I would do it and what the answer would be if I did it using the fraction. So I'm going to, if you need to write this down, you better pause because I'm erasing it now. So in 4h plus 1/3 is equal to 3/4, I would subtract 1/3 from both sides first to start isolating my variable. That would give me 4h is equal to, well, 3/4 minus 1/3. The common denominator would be 12. And 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. And then subtracting 3 goes into 12 4 times 1 is 4. So now I would be left with 4h is equal to 5/12. Then I would divide by 4. And 5/12 divided by 4 becomes 5/12 times 1/4. I'm changing this 4/1. Oops, that's a mistake. I'm changing the 4/1 to its reciprocal, and it becomes 1/4. And so 5 times 1 is 5, and 12 times 4 is 48. So once again, h is equal to 48. Either way it works. I like eliminating the fractions. Moving on, we can also simplify the equation by distributing and eliminating the parentheses. So in this particular case, 3 times the quantity of k minus 5 equals negative 16. I would distribute that 3 across the k and the 5, and I would get 3k minus 15 equals a negative 16. Adding 15 to both sides begins to isolate, leaving me with 3k is equal to a negative 1. And the inverse operation of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So k is equal to a negative 1/3. Pretty straightforward. And the last example of the night, well, of this video, not the night, the last example of this video. Negative 50 is equal to negative 12 times the quantity of a minus 2. So once again, I would distribute the negative 12. I would get negative 50 is equal to negative 12 times a is negative 12a. And a negative 12 times a negative 2 gives me a positive 24. To start isolating, I'm going to do subtract 24 from both sides. That isolates and keeps the equation balanced. So I would get negative 74 is equal to a negative 12a. Dividing by the negative 12, the inverse of multiplying by negative 12, doing it to both sides, would give me that a is equal to 74 over 12. Because a negative divided by a negative is positive. Now I'm going to simplify that even further. And that would give me what? 37 over 6 if I divide by 2. And 37 over 6 as a mixed number, a would equal 6 1/6. All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a quick right finishing this video set of notes. A plus 10 divided by 6 is equal to 2/3. See how you do with this one, and then we'll go over it tomorrow in class. Thank you so much. Take a quick break when you're done, and then come back with a refreshed brain, ready to finish off the night.